mood, when you're feeling depressed, you tend to be isolated. And that is the nature of who we are, you know. If you're in a low mood, if we have lower energy, or if we're in a low frequency mode, I would say. So it's very natural for us to go into a little bit of isolation and fix ourselves, because, you know, we're like basically made of love, you know. And the quality of love is to just, you know, give out goodness. So when we don't have enough of that, it just doesn't occur to us that, you know, there's more outside over there, and let me go out and get it. Unless we're in a very non-human mode kind of thing, we're in an animalistic mode, then we like go out grabbing things. That's when that kind of mode or feeling comes to us. But when we're in that very human mode, we probably wait for someone to come and light our flame for us, instead of going out and grabbing to get it. So anyways, let's start with the power of kindness and connection, and a little bit about myself. I'm Ruchi, and I'm a holistic therapist, a holistic wellness coach, as well as a yoga teacher. So I've been experiencing the power of kindness and of connection, and the power of both of them together in all of the modalities that I perform. So I've seen that in my patients and my clients who get healed just because now I've given them a space in which they can be themselves, because there's someone who they can connect to and talk to. And that's about all that's needed for the healing to begin. I've seen people in yoga classes, you know, just bloom because, you know, I've been looking at them in the eye and talking, and they feel that it's for them. Or I've just, you know, given them that one gentle touch at time, and that makes them feel so special. So all of these things, you know, just helps people flourish and heal. So hence, you know, the reason why I'm here and talking about it is just so powerful. So there are two ways of living, basically. One is to drink, to eat, to breathe. The other way is to have faith, to have compassion, to have benevolence, to have generosity, to be giving, to be love, not just be loving, to become love yourself, to be love. That is the other way to live. So like I said, I'm a yoga teacher. Yogic scriptures clearly differentiate between being human, or the humanness of being, and an animal way of being. It's called Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Methunam. So eating, sleep, fear, and procreation. These are common between all animals and humans. Whereas, what differentiates a human being and what makes a human being a human is really, they call it dharma. But what is defined as dharma is all of these virtues and qualities. So when we're living them, when we are that, we become human. Otherwise, even in the human body, we're living an animal life. So hence, you know, very important for these qualities to be there, for us to have the human experience. Life is not in itself anything but what we make out of it. So if you want to have the human experience of living, so these are the qualities which make it that. Okay? It also resonates with the idea of ahimsa, non-violence. So kindness is all about non-violence. It's a definition of non-violence. Okay? So it's not just about not hurting another person, but considering the other person, giving the other person the space of being a human being. So considering that person as a human being. You know, so many times, you know, we had this workshop and talk on mindfulness just now. We're not even listening to the other person. We're not giving that person our heart space, our mental space, our time, our energy at all. But when we make that space, that's what makes that person a human being for us, right? So, and that's when we consider another person a human being, only then can we connect to our own humanness. There is no other way. If I am treating myself as a full human being, as a divine being, that's the way I'm going to treat other people in front of me. If I don't do that, not going to be doing that for myself either. That's one commonality. The way I am that with everyone, each and every creature in existence, whether it's an angel or an ant, right? So that's what it's about. A little bit about my story over here, the power of kindness and connection. So I have always been, had an intensely tumultuous life. At the same point of time, I discovered, and when you are that, when you are water, you don't know you're water, okay? So I had that, very joyous state of being all throughout my life, which I discovered much later, let's say a couple of years back. And how I did that was, I've been through an intensely abusive relationship at first. And the guy almost tried to kill me like a couple of times, and I'm like going up to the guy and like, you shouldn't do that to anybody else. So I'm just being kind to the other person. You should go to a therapist. Let me take you over there and blah blah blah. All right. So many people have different ways of looking at it. I should have gotten up. I should have fought it. I should have done this and that. Yeah, I did. He was registered with the police, and all the complaints were written. I was still kind to the person. I did not register a legal case because the person would have been thrown out of the country where I was. I was living in another country at that point of time, and I was concerned about his future, his family's future. He lost his father at a very young age, and his rest of the family was still struggling. I didn't want them to go through a certain kind of struggle. So all of that there, and that also shows the intense sort of joy and self-belief that I didn't feel limited in any way, that I felt belittled in any way. I always looked at the deficiencies of that person and like how much he must be suffering, how much help that person actually needs. And the fact that I was being harmed never even registered, right? But that's sort of, when I was leaving him and going away, that's when it actually, sort of alighted into me. And the person just came up to me, Rishi, you really don't know yourself. You have been such an inspiration, and you have changed me so much. Okay? And this is the person who's like tried to kill me a couple of times, without me realizing that, of course. I have been into spirituality. I've had that deep connection always. Even as a child, I used to wonder why human beings don't, realize what they're doing to planet Earth, why they're harming it. And it was just so obvious to me. Everything, all their actions, taking advantage of all natural resources, not caring for them, not caring for each other. And so it was absolute suicide. And I remember like pages and pages on end. When I was like 8 years old, I was writing that. And wondering, why nobody gets it. A couple of things in life, I lost that. I was into certain, levels of spiritual and meditation practices, continued with that after I left that marriage. And then something stuck. It really struck me that I did not realize what was happening to me. And again, I was not living in this country at that time. And I fell into depression. I did not get to know that I was in depression. It got deeper. And so eventually, I had to just quit my job. I had to quit everything over there, all my belongings, everything I had, all my possessions, which were probably about like thousands and thousands of dollars, got like sold off in $4,000 because I had to have a distress sale. So I was lost my money, lost my things, lost my job, lost everything. Came back, and then there's this auntie. Distant relative, and oh my God, what are you going to do now? You've lost everything. And I'm going to enjoy my life. Okay. Wow. So not being joyous is something that I do not know. So whatever came, it was just there. And what I attribute that to is the power of kindness. So I've always felt deeply connected within me, whether there was somebody outside or not. And the kindness has always just come very, naturally. Whether, it's a random person in front of me, whether there is a puppy, Vinita, in front of me.
The boyfriend.
Yeah, the boyfriend, or the boyfriend or whoever. It just come very naturally over there. So that's what you do as a human. Something very obvious, you uplift other people. If somebody's in distress, you don't go out destroying them further. Yeah. You hold their hands and you try to lift them up. If the person is still not willing, you either just move on yourself or get somebody else to help them, but you don't hold a grudge against them for suffering themselves. Because if somebody's not suffering themselves, there's no way they can do harm to anybody else. Okay? So something, so simple to understand, but so difficult to implement because we're sort of so caught up in our, lower frequencies at times. It just gets difficult to understand at that moment. So very, very important to just keep practicing the higher frequency stuff, like kindness and generosity at all times, so that that sticks with you all the time. Instead of worrying about mundane things, instead of, holding grudges, having jealousies and all of that, just doesn't pay anything. So basically, you get to live a high, experience of life, no matter what the absolute situation is. It does not even matter to you. It's like, this movies, there was this movie about the Holocaust in which the father was actually, saving his son and protecting him all the time. So you can imagine during the Holocaust, in the, torture camps and everything, what kind of experiences people might have had, what level of suffering they might have had. But this father, because he was protecting his son, still had a high experience of life even there, because he was in that giving mode, in that generous mode, even then. Right? So that's about my personal experience. And needless to say, there were like many, many ups and downs after that. And so even now, like, I'm supporting a lot of people who are trying to harm me and totally transform them. One of them is my second husband, okay, who eventually in front of, there was something with the families, and so in front of both the families, he totally disowned me and verbally abused me and everything. And so yeah, everybody has their own life, lessons and their own life, journeys and everything. So I have no regrets or anything about that. But again, like I said, that joyousness, that kindness is just so innate that I do not relate to any other way of living. So that's just me. Okay. I've had a lot of people question me, why didn't you get up, why didn't you fight, why didn't you do anything? That's just not me. I'll do whatever's coming to my heart and what is true to me. So at that time, at that very moment, I felt, his suffering in my heart. At that very moment, I felt like being wrapped, I was wrapped in a huge bubble, protective bubble. Now, I don't know from where it came, but it totally protected me. Anything that anybody was saying to me was bouncing off that bubble. Nothing hit me, nothing touched me. I still had that space for me. And this was something that I could see and I could feel and I could sense. I'm a quantum healer as well. I'm an advanced quantum healer, so I can sense energies, I can sense these kind of things very clearly. So I could see that, and I could feel that, these people need my prayers at that moment. So I sent them those prayers. I spoke with them. I said, shouldn't be doing that. I spoke with them very, very, categorically that this is not the right thing to do. That's what I was saying. But inside my heart, there was a lot of love flowing. Inside my heart, there were a lot of prayers that were flowing. And so how that transformed, I'm not in touch with the rest of his family, but how that transformed this person was that this person's voice changed. So next time I met him, his voice had changed. It was a compassionate voice. It was a soft voice. His heart had changed, it had melted. That is the power of kindness and connection. That is the power. So, I truly do not believe in, Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy that, when somebody slaps you on one cheek, put the other cheek, in front of that person. No, please don't do that. Ever, 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 because that's going to encourage the other person and, maybe allow them to think that you're weak in any way. But stand in your own strength. And all of these high frequency qualities are what actually give a person strength. That is our strength as human beings. There's nothing else to us. This is all that makes us human. All right? The second part is Okay, before I move on to the next phase of my speech, I'd just like to invite you to a very powerfully kind, compassionate, and loving space for your own self. All right? And like I said, if we are kind to ourselves, we're going to be kind to other people. If we are kind to other people, we're going to be kind to our own selves. Okay? So, just a little like 2-minute exercise that I'm going to do. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes, sit very comfortably with your palms open, facing up or down, whichever way you feel like. Just open up your body, all the cells, your heart, and just give yourself that little space. Beautiful, kind, loving space. It's a very safe space to be in. It's a space which keeps you safe. It's a space through which you're protected at all times. It's a space that allows you to be who you are. It's a space which is the ultimate acceptance of who I am, of who you are at this very moment. All of you, all of me, all at once. I'd like you to start relaxing your body, starting from your feet. Relax your whole feet, the whole of your ankles, your lower legs, your knees, your upper legs, your hips and pelvic area, your stomach from the inside out, your lower back, upper back, chest, shoulders, all of your arms, your palms, your fingers, your neck, all of your facial muscles, starting from your chin, your lips, your nose, cheeks, eyeballs, eyelids, eyebrows, forehead, temples, top of the head, back of the head. The whole body is now completely relaxed. Feel the beautiful healing wave come up from the earth to the soles of your feet, entering you from the soles of your feet, through your legs, up to your hips and pelvic area, relaxing you and healing you deeply. Slowly bring your attention to your heart. Feel it beating. Feel the presence of a beautiful divine light in your heart that is already there. Stay with this presence for some time. And when you're ready, just acknowledge His presence, cherishing it, allowing it to be with you for a while. In this beautiful, beautiful space, that belongs to you now, for your entire existence.
May the Divine Light guide you and be with you and protect you forever. When you feel comfortable, slowly wiggle your toes, your fingers, just a little bit, moving your head from side to side. And gently, slowly blink your eyes open. Welcome back to Planet Earth. Thank you for this experience. It's brought a lot of beautiful energy in this space, and I'm still trying to digest and absorb it. So, a few seconds. Feeling a lot of gratitude on behalf of all of us, and you can share the same feeling. It's the most beautiful feeling, and by the way, if you didn't know, gratitude is the feeling of the highest frequency. Currently, the frequency of Earth is at a scale of 10, somewhere about like between 3 and 4. A couple of years back, it was below 3, which is the frequency of extreme resentment, fear, and anger. And now it's come up to somewhere between 3 and 4, which is a little better. Because a lot of people are channelizing higher frequencies at the moment through meditative practices, through healing practices. We need more and more light workers on this planet to be able to heal it, to be able to retain that frequency and increase it. So we're at a very special time today in the history of mankind or the world, where this is a necessity rather than a choice. So yeah, more about the power of kindness and connection. So as a therapist, I'm going to share a few experiences with you. So I had this patient with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. This person had been suffering from OCD since about like 20 years now. Since about 20 years, okay? So he's been through medication, he's been through the trauma of going off medication, he's been, through multiple healers by the time he got to me, and, and it's no relief. So obviously, when you have something like OCD and you leave your medication, it's bound to become much worse, okay? So this person had come to me in that condition, probably like lost all hope and, didn't understand what was happening to him. And so I just spoke with him. I started talking to him, and after my first session of talking to him, his first, response to me was that, I think that I can get better over here because you were talking to me, and you were talking to me like a normal person. So till then, the doctors and the people who were trying to treat him or heal him were not even looking at him as, a person who is at par with them. That matters so much. We're like dehumanizing people all the time, especially when we are in a state or in a position of a little more power than the other person. So the power of kindness and connection is more about treating the person at par with you, giving that person the same honor and respect wherever they are and wherever you are. Even if I'm like the Prime Minister of this country, I have absolutely no right to even feel that I'm superior than anybody that I'm not. It's that energy which is working through me. There's just so much intelligence in this universe because of which I've been put over here for that particular service or duty, and that's about it. There is nothing more than that. We are all at the same level. So yeah, that's about that. And now 3 months down the line, that person is off his alcoholism. There's no more alcohol in his life. He's not under any medication. He's taking supplements still. His OCD is getting much better. Instead of taking like 20 baths in a day, he takes a bath about 6 times in a day. And then he's doing yoga regularly. He could not sit still for even like 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes is a long time. With me, he did 10 minutes. Before that, he couldn't even do 1 minute. But now he's doing like full 1.5 hour sessions. And these are group sessions, not even one-on-one. And he's able to do them well. He's able to meditate. OCD people, if you have ever gone to a Vipassana camp, you have? Beautiful. So they make you sign a disclaimer over there that if you've ever had a mental illness, especially if it's a psychotic episode, you are not allowed to meditate, and that's for a reason. Any unguided meditation can actually lead your imagination to go haywire, to put you in that, get you out of touch with reality, really. So that's why they're not allowed. He is able to sit by himself and meditate for about 10 minutes now. So this is the power of just, opening up your heart and space to another person and giving them the honor of being a human being, the same respect as you hold for your own self. That's it. And that is what is kindness. That is what is compassion. There's nothing more to it. I'm not doing anything special to anybody by treating them like the same human being that I am. Or by treating another life the same way that I treat my own life. And truly that is true. If I do not have respect for my environment, for the plants, for the ant which is walking, crawling on the floor, if I don't have that same respect, I don't have that respect somewhere of a part of me inside my own self. It's a total reflection of my own self and the way I treat myself. Right? And here's a little bit about the scientific basis of kindness. So how many of you think you don't have enough time in the day and you'd like to do more?
Repeat the question, please.
How many of you need more time in your day to do more, to accomplish your tasks? How many of you wish you had more time in one day? Like more than 24 hours? 1, 2. That's it. Other people are quite cool actually. So I believe you're already very kind and generous people. So there was a recent study, there was a research done. It's actually a scientific research. I can't quote that right now, but you can just go and search on the net for the research on the affluence of time. Okay. So what it said was, when people are kind and generous, and then they do these acts from the heart, genuinely, on a regular basis, it actually increases their sense of time. It expands time for them. Right? So you're able to accomplish so much more. You feel as if you have more time. You do things in lesser time. Plus, you have a sense of having more and a better, more expansive time in your life, in your one day. Okay?
When I meditate, I chant, I feel I have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I just skip this thing that I feel okay, there's an anxiety within come. There's a one more question I wanted to ask you, because I'm working in the advocacy program for media to bring positivity.
Okay.
I mean, since you are saying kindness and connection, and you referred that about the PM episode and all this thing, just for example, I know the way Anchor present the show, the way debate is being carried out, it is being circulated across the world, across the nation, and people are consumer of those energies. It's not just the word, it's energies. Because I teach, I'm just getting up still. I teach mass communication. After a gap of 4 or 5 years, I just again came back to the teaching. So I find the students so negative. I was literally upset seeing them. So I just wanted to know, does these energy impact the mass energy? How does it impact the life of the same journalist or the anchor or the debater who feel they are doing a great job, but somewhere down the line they are accumulating diseases for themselves? Because I also studying this occult science or literal meditation and Vedanta. It says all the disease of your body are connected with your mind. The way mind function, it's accumulated. It's the arthritis, either any sort of. So I just want you to throw light over there. Those who are shouting so much, I mean, claiming their voice to be the voice of others. Does its health affect their health also? Because I'm a media person also. I'm really planning to do a wellness workshop with my media friends. Please throw a light there.
So there's a detailed answer to your question, which we can discuss outside, and there's a short answer to your question. Okay? So these occult sciences or alternative sciences, whether it be yoga or Ayurveda, nature cure and all of that, they do recognize that all of these disorders that are there today that fall under the category of all respiratory disorders, cardiovascular disorders, endocrine disorders, mental health disorders, autoimmune disorders, most of them, unless they're genetic in nature, which is a very minuscule percentage, they all fall under the category of non-communicable disorders, which are also called lifestyle disorders or psychosomatic disorders. Psychosomatic meaning originating from the mind, right? So they're all, in this category, and this is about, covering 71% of the mortality rate of the whole world at the moment. India is doing a little better, we're 63%, but across the world, US is leading with about 76%, basically. So that's what it is. Yes, all of these do arise in the mind, and the root cause is stress. Ayurveda defines the origin of stress as transgression of your conscience. So when you're not listening to your heart, that is when you start getting stressed. And that is when disease starts developing in your body or mind. Yeah? So that's how it works. So yes, very simple answer to that people who are not following their heart or are trying to sort of impose their energy in any way by being aggressive, by talking loudly or any way, they're only harming themselves and not anybody else. Okay? So we were talking about, that true power really lies in being centered, in being kind, and being compassionate. And how many people are able to do that actually? If you actually look at it. So there is a lot of power that is required, a lot of inner strength, that inner metal is required to be able to stay in that state.
It's a matter of practice also.
So if I can, I'd like to complete my talk as well. And we can always take your questions, beyond that for sure. And we can have a quick discussion if we are still, still have time, 5 minutes, right? I'm going to try to wrap that up. So I was talking about the scientific basis of this. One is the affluence of time. And another one is it releases the very critical and crucial happy hormones in our body. So if I'm witnessing an act of kindness, if I'm performing the act of kindness, or if I'm experiencing it myself, there's the same hormones being released in all three categories of people. So it's a beautiful thing to do actually. And the hormones are, one is serotonin. Serotonin is responsible for good sleep, for making us feel relaxed, for making us feel connected, and for aiding our digestion, for our appetite, and a lot of other vital functions, even cognitive mental functions of our body. Okay, so memory, deciphering, language, powers, and all of that. So people who are kind can actually speak more fluently than people who are unkind. So do you want to be a good speaker? Be kind. Alright, so one is serotonin. The other one is endorphins. Endorphins are natural painkillers. Okay? So they are pain relievers. I'm also a laughter yoga teacher, in case I haven't mentioned. So what happens is that people who are experiencing chronic pains, when they undergo laughter yoga session, they actually get relieved of that pain for like a 15-minute session could lead to at least about 2 hours of pain-free time. So that's what happy hormones can do to you. So the other way is to be kind. Just gonna wrap up in like half a minute and then we'll take questions, all right? The third hormone is oxytocin. Oxytocin is a love hormone, okay? So you being able to experience love also requires oxytocin in you, and not just the other way around, okay? Not just loving other people. So you need oxytocin in your body. And oxytocin is also responsible, it's that hormone that is deficient in you when you are actually under depression. So I've been through it, I know the technicalities of that. So these hormones are released in your body when actually you do any act of kindness. And that's why you stay happier, healthier, and stress-free. So it can, kind of diseases that it can actually prevent in you is incredible. One is all kind of mental health disorders, stress, anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and a lot of autoimmune disorders can be prevented through that. And most of the lifestyle disorders can simply be prevented by us connecting to more and more people in a happy, joyful way and being kind. So that is the magic and the power of kindness and connection. It goes much beyond our imagination. That is, I'm going to reiterate, that is a very fabric of our being. Without practicing these qualities, without being these qualities, we are dehumanizing our own selves and other people around us. So I said I had another activity for you, but only if you're interested. If you're interested in questions, and we take questions. If you want that activity, we'll just do that 2-minute activity and then go on to the questions. So what do you choose? Activity, raise your hands. 1, 3. Okay, so we have a majority activity. We have 5 people over here. I need you to be in pairs of 2. So I'm gonna be with any one person maybe. So
Sitting here?
yeah, please sit together. Yeah.
You said sit together, right?
Yeah, please come in pairs and sit together. So maybe
There are three already.
would you like to do it with Prerna? We're just doing a little activity.
So we are just 2 of us anyway.
So maybe you can.
Yeah, only 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, so this is a 2-minute activity. Excuse me. So again, I need you to be in a space of silence for just about 10 to 15 seconds. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to think about any one kind thing you're going to say or do to the person next to you. Okay? So you can close your eyes, or could you repeat that? So you're going to get a space of silence for about 10 to 15 seconds. You're going to think of any one kind thing to say or do with the person sitting next to you after these 15 seconds. So that's a very simple exercise. So I invite you to come back into your own body, your own space, your own heart space. Think of something. Right, and now when you're comfortable and you're ready, please open your eyes. And this time we're going to face each other, look at each other in the eyes, hold each other's hands, and breathe that you come across. So fast.
So basically, I really like your trends. And it's suiting you. It's suiting you. And when did you get married? 20 seconds. So it's like we do suit.
It's an atmosphere.
And where you put parents.
You guys are amazing.
I live in Koshon.
I'm going to share my experience through this activity. My heart space was somewhere about here. After this activity, it's probably gone up to here. So this is what your activity has done to my heart. You just sense that. And I'd like to, for you to be able to share your experiences, what you felt. What did you feel when,
Contentment, like you feel contentment, peace, that's a good thing.
Lots of peace and connection, like familiarity, even though
We have kindness.
yeah.
And you're so connected still, right?
Yeah.
Just so connected. You just pass on that kindness and feeling of peace. It took like less than a minute. And
So basically, that generosity feeling was there, and it gave happiness to me. It's been selfish, but I felt happy being generous.
yeah, it's not selfish. That's the way it works. You light somebody else's flame, and your own flame grows over there. It grows like many folds. That's how it works. Could you share your experience? How you felt?
Lovely, very lovely. Walked in with a very positive mindset. Anyway, your session exercises enhanced to that. and it was a very quick but very, very warm bonding that happened here.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. Would you like to share yours?
Yeah, the same. I feel good. I was just, telling her my experience over the past few days of just meeting amazing women. Indian women are amazing. Everyone is so full with so much love and so welcoming. It just makes you feel good. So I was just, sharing that experience.
And look at that glow on your face. It's so amazing. And then you have 1,000 suns inside of you.
I'm just
Vibrant.
so sweet.
Thank you so much. And this is just to discover the power that just in 1 minute of experiencing that kindness, of giving and receiving it, of exchanging, sharing it just gives you so much. So what can it do to your energy and to you and your feelings?
I just want to
If
keep
you do that all the time. I feel like giving everybody a hug over here. So beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we can have your questions maybe to the next.
Smile, which, yeah.